I know some of you are too young to remember back when the internet wasn't quite as saturated with moderators. There's sliders has now been introduced to the hub, and that's really not a big concern. But what it does get me to thinking about is how much I miss the 90s. Yes, the 90s wasn't the perfect era to live in, nowhere is, but, and I don't want this to sound like some kind of nostalgia bullshit, but in reality, when it comes to the internet anyway, the 90s were just a better time to live in. The 90s were not full of the tyrannical dictator rapist menaces that exist in today's internet. And primarily that's because the market was not as saturated as now. Back in the 90s, capitalism did not have as much to do with the internet. I mean, you still had to buy it. There was still people selling shit online, but it wasn't like now. There wasn't eBay, there wasn't Google, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't anything like that. There were these little teeny websites that people made, and, mostly it was by amateur designers. It was by hardcore geeks that wanted to, be part of this new age and this new technology, and, normal people don't jump on board with that shit. Normal people are always 10 years behind technologically. They always say the same thing. Oh, it'll never work out. Oh, that thing will never catch on. And they treat it like it's the fucking devil and that it's magic. They did the same thing with CDs and DVDs and shit like that. I remember all of that too. I remember when people acted like DVDs were just magical lasers that you could never understand, and now we don't even fucking use DVDs anymore. So, that's why the internet was better back then. It's the same shit as now. I mean, the internet hasn't changed all that much. You don't have to use dial-up in most places anymore. But for the most part, the internet's relatively the same shit it was 10 to 20 years ago. You still sign online to browse, shop, look at porn, to do things. But nowadays, you're controlled in every facet of it. Your every move is being watched. You're labeled as a consumer and have a price tag on yourself. You're cattle. You are cattle now more than you ever were before. Nobody seems to have a problem with that. If I would never have guessed 10 or 20 years ago that shit was going to turn out the way it did. I would have never guessed the internet would be as it is now if you had asked me 10 to 15 years ago. It's a sad place to be in. It's a sad generation to live in. And it makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach that we're letting them take away this technology. We are letting them abuse what could have been the cornerstone of a new era for mankind. All these blog writers love to say that when we were in the 60s and 50s, people were thinking we were going to have spaceships and jetpacks and shit like that. And people were like, where's our spaceships and jetpacks? Well, see, back then, people thought the new era was going to be in energy. And as many bloggers have said, it wasn't energy that increased, it was information. Information has become the unlimited, accessible resource, not energy. Not to say that energy couldn't be one day, not to say energy couldn't be right now, but that's a discussion for a different day. What I'm saying here is that we have unlimited information right now, in theory, but we are not being able to make use out of it because of moderators. We are not being able to make use out of it because a privileged class thinks they have the right to limit that information, either because of capital and being able to withhold the information, because, whether you want to blame anti-piracy laws or whether you want to blame bans or anything, it's all bullshit. You have fucking time to blame the companies for pressing down against piracy, which is anti-information, but not against moderators. And there is no theft argument involved. You are simply saying, oh, they have the right to enforce their property. Well, isn't that what the anti-piracy people are doing? They're enforcing their property. What's the fucking difference? What is the difference, Anonymous? What is the difference between people coming after you and coming after Pirate Bay and shit than moderators banning you? Why don't you start with fucking 4chan instead of worrying about Pirate Bay and WikiLeaks and other shit like that? And by the way, WikiLeaks is most likely a honeypot. But again, another discussion for another day. The point here is that they pick and choose. They don't want to admit that we have this new resource, unlimited resource. We have this new technology that can make us all smarter, better, and have a better life. We could all be living like fucking gods right now, and we're not. Why? Because certain people want to have privilege. It's not necessarily capital privilege. It's not necessarily, some people owning the physical assets. It's the fact that now we have this entirely new class saying that they have the privilege to dictate the information internally. The moderator is a new bourgeois class. It is this new bourgeois class suggesting that just because they say so, they have the right to dictate the course of the future. And because of that, we're all stupider for it. Because of that, we're all poorer for it. And because of that, cancer and AIDS and criminality and war and death and poverty are all going to last a whole lot fucking longer. All because some moderator fuckhead thinks he's entitled to banning people. He thinks he's entitled to dictating the course of information because he owns it. Well, I'm sick and fucking tired of people making excuses for what they own instead of what is good for us. What is good for us as individuals. What is good for us as people. You should kill a moderator. If you ever see a moderator, you should take out a gun and fucking shoot them. Because they're evil. They're terrorists. They're despicable. And they want to hurt you. And I'm gonna make that perfectly clear in my book. And if my voice sounds a little hoarse, I have been feeling sick for the past couple of days. But it's just something I need to say. Because, as I see all these old 90s shows, it depresses me, the fact that, back in those days, we had high hopes for the future. With this new technology, we knew we had opportunities available to us. And this new class just comes out of nowhere and takes it all away. They took away everything from us. They took away all our potential. They took away all our freedom. They took away all our possibilities for something better than this. And now because of it, we all have to worry about stupid shit, like paying our debts and going to work and, doing other shit. Maybe go join the army and go die in a useless war. That's what we have to fucking look forward to because of moderators. So don't you goddamn tell me that I'm just bitter and a troll and I'm just, some psychopath because I say the moderators are the bourgeois and you should stick them behind the wall. Because it's true. They ruined your fucking life. They're the reason why your life is no good and could never be any good. And until you realize that fact, your life is just going to be that much fucking worse because you're being stupid. So, just think about that.